The Supreme Court said essentially that the administration does not have the authority that it said it had to just unilaterally declare tariffs without congressional authorization.
The Supreme Court's ruling on tariffs is deeply disappointing.
The power to tax goes to the legislature. If you want to put on tariffs, you have to get a trade law passed.
It certainly weakens Trump's hand, but it certainly doesn't mean that the tariffs are over.
Broad tariffs that the president imposed, the reciprocal tariffs and the so-called fentanyl or trafficking tariffs, were not authorized by the statute the president used. 3 justices said, yeah, you could, and 6 said, no, you can't.
The court basically found that there was no such national emergency, that the administration had not proven its case, that in fact that particular act had never been cited before as a reason to impose tariffs, which it decreed as taxes. It's been the White House's contention that exporters will essentially eat the tariffs. Numerous studies have said, in fact, that it is U.S. consumers and businesses that are, in fact, paying the cost of those tariffs.
Even his supporters said, I don't know that we signed up for this. Anything we buy is more expensive. They've said, we're going to put the tariffs right back on. The president's going to put the tariffs on under other authorities.
Today, I will sign an order to impose a 10% global tariff under Section 122, over and above our normal tariffs already being charged.
But it's only good for 150 days. It's temporary.
Some of those tariff rates will stay in place. The administration is now going to have to go before Congress and provide justification. From an economic perspective, it takes away a layer of uncertainty. We've seen stock market gyrations through the past year, ever since the Liberation Day announcements. So it is a bit of a mitigator as far as market volatility goes. The U.S. is a huge importer of goods. We saw over the last year, even with the tariffs, we still had a nearly $1 trillion cumulative trade deficit, which was just fractionally smaller than what it was the year before, even with the administration's efforts to level the playing field.
The court is saying nothing today about whether, and if so, how the government should go about returning the billions of dollars that it has collected from importers. But that process is likely to be a mess, as was acknowledged at oral arguments.
This kind of begins what will likely be a long and painstaking process. Just in fiscal 2026, we're talking about like $117 billion so far. The administration has really pegged its deficit reduction hopes on the idea of tariff revenue. What happens next year could be a little bit more complicated depending on what happens during the midterms, but it certainly doesn't mean that the tariffs are over.